Hey, how's it going, everyone? And welcome back to another episode of Film Forum. This is our, I guess, every other day news show. We're doing it on Tuesdays and Thursdays, where we talk about the latest movie news topics, but also a big component of this show is your involvement. We also feature user-submitted topics and questions from our Patreon. So if you are interested in any of that, if you want to become a patron of FilmSpeak and have a say in what we do on this show, consider heading over there and supporting the channel. But as always, I don't do these news shows alone. I'm, of course, your host, Griffin Schiller, in case I didn't mention that at the top. But of course, I don't do these news shows or any of these live streams alone. I am joined by an amazing guest today, Miss Amy from the Movie Checklist.
Hey!
I almost called you Movie for some reason, just because I said hey, the Movie Checklist. So right off. Anyways, how are you doing today?
I am fantastic. It is Comic-Con weekend.
I know. I was just talking to you about this beforehand, but like, what are the panels that you have sort of lined up for your for your
mostly
schedule?
what I've been looking at is Mondo stuff. All of the Mondo drops, I have been checking those out. I am so upset. I tweeted this morning. Mondo dropped this beautiful Star Wars poster yesterday. It's $100.
Yeah.
And it was limited yesterday. The foil one was $150, and I want it so bad, but
Yeah.
I can't afford it. But
No,
I was gonna say, but I am like really looking forward to New Mutants later today.
Yeah, that's the big one for me today as well. The New Mutants, and then I was also speaking of the Mondo thing. They were doing a drop today.
Spider-Man drop.
That thing sold out like that.
I know. Like, I was sitting there.
Here's the thing: if you don't do the Mondo stuff, like Mondo usually drops stuff at like 12 Pacific time or something like that. It didn't happen today. Today it was at 9 in the morning.
Yeah.
And so I got screwed up. I get this like little update on because I have the notifications pinged on Twitter. I get the update and I'm like, oh, are they just teasing what they're going to do later? And then I realize, oh no, they're actually dropping the Spider-Man or the Spider-Verse poster.
I have the Comic-Con drop page on my desktop just constantly open, and I'm just watching the countdown, and I'll be like, okay, so 5 hours from now, that's okay. I need to be ready at this time. And I made sure to check it yesterday because I knew they were releasing something Spider-Man, and one of my friends is like a big fan of Spider-Man, so I knew I had to be on there to like send him whatever they dropped.
Yeah. It was a bummer because that's probably one of the best Spider-Verse posters I've seen thus far. I mean, it's a really good one. If you don't know what we're talking about, guys, head on over to the Mondo page and check it out because it's fantastic. But and then yesterday, and I don't know, are you a big Funko collector at all?
Yeah, I mean, I have this Lucy one, and then my desk at work has like I think I have the most Funkos in the office. There's like at least 12 I have at my desk.
I have an unhealthy amount of Funkos. And of course, when the Comic-Cons come around, it's always like, oh, all right, let's just open up the wallet, take all my money. Yesterday was an absolute nightmare trying to get some of that stuff.
Yeah, I didn't even bother trying to look at that. I am waiting until Halloween and they drop the Haunted Mansion stuff and that's it. I'm like, that is my Funko limit for the year.
Yeah. Do they like announce the ones that they're dropping around Halloween?
They announced in June, I think at the beginning of June or the end of May for like Halloween in the middle of the year or whatever. I think it was like all of the Hitchhiking Ghosts and Madame Leota, cool. And it's so cool. They're like so awesome.
Yeah.
They announced like a whole bunch of Haunted Mansion stuff for Funko, but just Disney in general, and announced a whole bunch of like Haunted Mansion stuff that I'm obsessed with.
Yeah, the theme park stuff is actually really cool. I'm a big fan of that stuff. But all right, let's get into some movie news topics. Of course, guys, we will save some time at the end of the show for your live questions, so feel free to start sending them in. I will answer this one right off the top from Zeke Gonzalez-Anzaldi asking, hey, Griff, quick question. What are some of your favorite songs by the 1975? That's like asking me to pick some of your favorite children, even though I don't have children. But and I have no hand in the creation of this song, so maybe that analogy didn't work. But anyways, I'm a big fan of like literally every song off of their first album, the self-titled album. So like Sex is a good one, She Way Out is a good one. I love She's American off of the second one. The one that they just dropped, I know it's a little divisive because it doesn't even feel, it feels like really experimental in concept and less like a 1975 album and more like a electronic album. But the one on there, Too Shy to Let Me Know, that sounds like a straight up Huey Lewis in the News song, or is like, it's so good. I've had that thing on repeat ever since it dropped. But yeah, all right. So anyways, thanks for the question, man. Yes, feel free to start sending your questions in for the end of the show, but we're going to tackle some news first, starting with the Bill and Ted Face the Music trailer. So Bill and Ted Face the Music is going to be the first topic here, and then we'll get into the Lando stuff. So Bill and Ted has a panel at Comic-Con. I believe they have a panel on Saturday. It's the third film in the series, and obviously a lot of people are looking forward to it. They dropped their, I guess it was the second trailer this morning, and we'll get into our thoughts on the trailer, but the interesting thing is that they revealed that the film will be heading to VOD, paid VOD, on September 1st, which I think many of us kind of assumed was going to be the case. I'm a little surprised they didn't just wait until their panel to announce this, but I generate the hype, get people to tune in to the panel on Saturday. But yeah, so we got Bill and Ted to look forward to on September, which Amy, I don't know, are you too surprised about the fact that it's heading to VOD?
No, not at all. Like, the only thing I would be surprised, and we talked about this last time I was on, that would be heading to VOD is Tenet. Like, yeah, Tenet is the only thing, and like probably some of the Marvel stuff, like Black Widow and Mulan. I don't like Mulan, maybe VOD. Yeah. But I don't think Black Widow and Tenet will head to VOD. That would be a major surprise if they do.
And I'll say, I agree with you. However, I will say that I think maybe Black Widow should head to VOD. I mean, if you think about it, the concept for that film does kind of lend itself well to, if they weren't doing it as a movie, it kind of lends itself well to a series or something like that.
Well, I think that's its initial thing before they started was a Disney Plus series or a Disney Plus original movie. Right. Before they decided to take it theatrically and incorporate it more into the MCU. Right,
for sure. But yeah, no, I totally agree with you. So like Bill and Ted heading to VOD, it was something that we all basically expected. Yeah. So, but getting to the trailer at hand, what were your overall thoughts of it? I guess just your initial reaction to that, because you just watched it.
Yeah, I just watched it before we started, and it's fun. I'm super excited. I love Samara Weaving so much, and I'm really excited to see that she's going to be in this, and she could be possibly taking the helm forward after Alex Winter and Keanu Reeves decide to stop making these movies, if they ever do decide to stop making these movies. But I'm going to be honest, I haven't seen the first two. But I'm still kind of excited to watch this and watch those first two kind of all together in September.
Yeah, I agree with you. Because I'm in the same boat. It just wasn't a thing for me growing up. I wasn't like, it was like Bill and Ted and Jay and Silent Bob. It's like, those are two really big cult, things that I guess I never really gravitated towards or latched onto. But like there's some that like the Bill and Ted ones, obviously I think I'm going to rewatch before I watch this new one, because I agree with you. It just looks like bonkers, like everything that you could expect from a Bill and Ted movie. They're really just throwing in here. Obviously get a little bump in the effects department, the look of it. It's great to see Keanu Reeves and Alex Winters like just back doing their thing. Like it just feels they feel very comfortable and at home. I'm going to piggyback off of what you said. I do like that they're kind of like, if they wanted to make another one, they do kind of like a spin-off with their daughters, because that looks like it's going to be an integral part of the film.
Yeah, that's what it very much felt like. They are in like those bodybuilder costume, like the prosthetics in the jail scene, and maybe that's where Bill and Ted kind of stop, and then their daughters start, and that's like the whole film is their journey. And like Bill and Ted are facing the music that they maybe can't really continue doing this, and their daughters are taking over. Maybe, I don't know.
That's the there we go. We have gotten to the root of the underlying themes of this trailer. No, it's great. It looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, which my God, I mean, what else do you want from a Bill and Ted movie? It's going to be psychedelic. It's going to be ridiculous. They're just going to be going around time traveling, doing crazy stuff. And obviously, you know, there'll be an important lesson to learn along the way, especially with their daughters and whatnot. And obviously, I hope they kind of play into the fact that they're older now, right?
Yeah.
That they can't do the same things that they did when they were younger, and that it's probably time to, like, you know, hang up the whatever the time travel device or whatever, or pass it down. So that it looks like it's going to be a lot of fun, which I think that's just what we all are kind of hoping for. So guys, let us know your thoughts and opinion on the new Bill and Ted 3 or Bill and Ted Face the Music trailer down in the comments section below. If you're watching this on the replay, or let us know in the chat if you're watching it live. Okay, so moving on to the main topic at hand here. We're going to be talking Star Wars, the Lando series, this Lando spinoff. It's been it's a Star Wars rumor that kind of circulated the internet yesterday, and it got people really excited. I don't think too many people were surprised by this news, but still, the fact that, like, it's coming from, you know, people who have inside information about this sort of thing, the fact that it feels credible, it sounds credible, and all that stuff like that.
Yeah, I think the original sources were the guys that brought the Bad Batch news a couple months ago.
Yeah, I was actually
before it was even announced. Yeah,
exactly. I was going to bring that up. I believe it was Noah Outlaw, who is one of the hosts of Kessel Run Radio, which, if you guys don't know, they are hardcore Star Wars guys, obviously, given the name of the podcast and everything. But yeah, I'm glad you brought that up, because they broke the news about the Bad Batch stuff like way in advance.
Yeah.
So it's like we can sort of treat this rumor with a little bit more. We could treat it a little more seriously than we would just like any sort of rumor.
Yeah.
And I would believe it too, because basically the gist of the rumor is that Donald Glover isn't finished playing Lando. He's rumored to be reprising his role as Lando Calrissian in a series for Disney Plus. Now, I watched the original stream, and they didn't specify whether or not it was going to be a Lando-centric series or whether it was going to be a series in which Lando appears. But if I had to, you know, venture a guess, I would say that they'd probably just take the plunge into a Lando series, since you know, Billy Dee Williams was in The Rise of Skywalker, and like it was, I mean, basically unanimously, almost everyone's favorite part of the film was just kind of seeing him back in that role. And so I think Lando is really in like the is on the upswing of the Star Wars sort of pop culture. Like, everyone's like, oh yes, give us more Lando. And so it makes sense that they would probably develop a series centered around him. But then the other part of this rumor is that there are rumblings that Billy Dee Williams may be returning to the character as well for this series, or you know, maybe another series. Like they talked about on the clip that I watched, you know, maybe exploring him and I forget the actor. It's Naomi Ackie, right? Who plays his daughter, I think, in The Rise of Skywalker.
I can't remember off the top of my head. I'd have to look it up.
Yeah. Well, his daughter.
Yes. The rumored daughter that it heavily implied at the end of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, exactly. So, you know, they were kind of hinting at the fact, they were interested in doing a series maybe centered around them. But I could see them, you know, combining the two ideas and getting
like kind of a future and then flashbacks with Donald Glover or something.
Yes. Yeah. Which that to me sounds like you get the best of both worlds. You still get Billy Dee Williams, but then you get Donald Glover back in the role, just going on these adventures as Lando. But anyways, Amy, look, I want to get your take on this. Are you excited at the prospect of a Lando series?
So much. Like, I loved Solo. Most people like Solo, I feel like, is coming back into the zeitgeist now that it's on Disney Plus again. Or now it's finally on Disney Plus, but everyone is like, I really liked Solo. I'm like, I liked Solo when it came out, when it was like in theaters. I loved Solo. And Donald Glover was a big part of that because he felt so true to Billy Dee Williams' portrayal of Donald Glover, or wow, of Lando,
Yeah.
of Lando in the original trilogy. So I'm like, I'm so excited to see the two of them, especially if it's going to be both of them playing Lando in whatever this series may end up being. Even if it is just a limited 8-episode series, because we all know how Donald Glover will, like, once he's done with something, he is done with something.
Yeah,
and
that's
he's
true.
Gone.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that they were mentioning on that clip from Kessel Run. They were saying that it was like, Donald Glover is one of the busiest guys on the planet. Whether it's with his music career, his comedy, his acting in general. I mean, he's in high demand, and so the fact that he wants to return to the character bodes well deal. For this. Exactly. So, like, I can't see them not going forward with this. I feel like it's basically been on their mind ever since they greenlit Solo and they cast Donald Glover. They're like, we got to use this later down the road. And truthfully, I don't know, depending on who you talk to, I feel like most people would probably argue that Solo should have been a Lando movie and not a Han Solo movie. Yeah. So this could be them sort of remedying it. Brian McMahon in the chat saying they guest star Han/Alden Ehrenreich in a possible Lando. That, because that's the other thing, because Alden Ehrenreich was basically saying, there were like rumors going around, I think last week, about him possibly returning to Solo, or him, make
maybe Solo 2 happen. Yeah. I've seen that trending on Star Wars Twitter a lot. Yeah,
and then like maybe popping up in a series here or there. This could be that series that he makes his return as Han in. But like, I guess if that's the case, how much of Han would you want to see in the series?
Maybe like a couple episodes, like sprinkled in here or there. If they're gonna do what they did with Mando and do like an 8-episode run for at least an initial series, I would say maybe like 2 episods. Yeah. Or for maybe 5 minutes in 3 episodes. Not like a whole lot. We don't need him too much. I loved Alden Ehrenreich as a Han, but again, it's a Lando series. We don't need too much of him. And if they do make Solo 2, we will get him again.
Yeah, exactly. Which, to be fair, I don't know if that'll actually happen. I don't know. It seems like a little bit of a stretch right now, but I agree with you, because it's like with Han, we already know everything we need to know about Han. We've gotten a Solo movie. Let's let Lando sort of shine, let's let him do his thing, and let's go on the crazy adventures that he goes on. Maybe before he meets Han, maybe when he has the Falcon, and then obviously after. There's like the timeline here. They've got so many windows where they can jump around to, because again, if they do decide to bring in Billy Dee Williams, then that's a whole other era of Star Wars that we can explore post Rise of Skywalker.
Because they can do everything post Rise of Skywalker, everything post Kessel Run, up to where they meet him in Cloud City, and then everything pre when he runs into Han and the Falcon and all of that stuff.
Yeah. No, I 100% agree with you, and I hope that it's, and this might be like a sort of weird thing to hope for, but like, well, one, it should. There's no question. It just needs to be called the Calrissian Chronicles.
And then, that's a great title.
Yeah, I mean, come on. It playing off of that whole thing. It is like we've already seen him, be like this storyteller and kind of like embellish upon his like accomplishments in Solo. So if you take that, and it's like the older Han sort of like setting the stage for the story he's about to kind of like reminisce about or tell. And then you go back in time, and then basically the show is sort of like a non-linear thing where it's just sort of the adventures of Han, sort of like the adventures of young Indiana Jones. Something like that could be really exciting for this, Let's see here. I'm sorry. We do have a super chat here from Oliver Mitchell. Sorry if I mispronounced your name. Thank you so much for the super chat, man. Really appreciate it. And I love your avatar. Squidward is one of the best animated characters of all time. So Oliver says, "Hey Griffin, love your stuff. For the Lando show, if it's true, I just can't get very excited because I rather than make shows about brand new characters we haven't seen. For example, The Mandalorian." Thanks so much for the super chat, man. And I get it. Because listen, I'm the first person to say that I'm kind of burnt out on Star Wars, kind of retreading the same era, retreading the same people, basically just like not moving past the original trilogy, and just basically having everything set between the window of episodes 3 and 4, and then if they're gonna move somewhere else, it's always tied to the original trilogy. I agree with you. I do, for the most part, want to get out of that era. That being said, Lando, I don't know. He's a character. I feel like it's a different situation here because he's a character that's great as in a supporting role, but we still have so much more that can be explored.
One of the most mysterious characters, I think, in the Skywalker series, like in the saga. We know almost nothing about him except for the way Billy Dee Williams portrays him and then the way Donald Glover portrayed him, which is very similar to the way Billy Dee Williams did it.
Right. Well, let me ask you this. Do you think that maybe that's part of the draw to his character is the mystery?
It's the mystique behind who he is. And it's like everyone's like, oh, why did we get a Solo movie when we know everything about Han Solo and his past? It makes him mysterious in the present, which I agree with. And that was kind of my initial, like, my hesitation for wanting a Solo film. But when I watched it, I enjoyed it. I had fun. That's how I feel about most every Star Wars film anyways. But it was interesting to see it. Plus it brought light a little bit more to Lando's character for me. And he was one of my favorite parts of that film.
Yeah. I mean, that's a good point. I guess because I agree with you, part of the allure to that character is the mystery that surrounds him, and part of me wonders, just to play devil's advocate here, if that is kind of revealed, if we learn a little bit more about that character, does he become less interesting? Do people just start to sort of be like, that it kind of ruins what you set up for the character? Because
I can
sort
see
of like,
that.
It's a weird line that they'll have to ride, but I feel like if they explore his adventures, but they still leave, just enough mystery left. Like there are just things that happen that he, makes up or he pulls out of his ass or whatever, or we find out that he can do this, but we don't understand how he can do that or how he got in this situation.
The card trick in Solo. Like we don't see that he has that thing under his sleeve. He just has this card. It doesn't get explained. They do things like that throughout the series, and they don't explain it, even though he is the main character. And in most series, in most television, they love to give all of the backstory on the character.
Yeah, all the explanation.
Just leave some things up to the imagination, especially for a mysterious character like this, but give us more story to him.
Well, and that was part of the reason why, I disliked Solo so much is because they kind of like just... They literally went in and they explained everything. They're like, this is how Han Solo got his gun. This is how Han Solo got his name. This is how Han Solo met Chewie. It was like every interesting and mysterious thing that we really don't need to know about Han Solo was just sort of like they were going down a list. They're just checking off boxes. And I don't want to see them take that same approach to Lando. If they're going to do Lando, do the one-off adventures where it's just like we plop into a situation and there's Lando. We don't know how he got there, but he's here. And it's sort of like a stream of consciousness of like Billy Dee Williams telling that story. That to me sounds like the right way to go.
Yeah, I agree. Like that, the things you list off about Solo, that was kind of the things that I disliked about it, but I had so much fun with it that I kind of just forgot about some of that stuff, even though in the moment it does feel very fan servicey. But I definitely agree. It'd be like, just, drop him in the middle of a story. Like it could be in the middle of some kind of like, he's running away from doing something.
Yeah.
Like from like ripping some gangster off or something.
Yeah.
And he's trying to evade bounty hunters or something. I don't know. That's just an episode. And they don't give you any explanation to what he did. And then he falls into some other mishap and he has to sweet talk his way out of it because that's what Lando does.
I agree with you. That to me is the perfect format for the show. And I don't know why this came to mind, but the reason when you mentioned that, I was thinking of the beginning of Star Trek Beyond, is it Star Trek Beyond or is it Into Darkness, where they just sort of drop in and they're like on this planet, they're trying to escape it, and all that stuff. It's like that approach.
I think that's Beyond.
Is it
where Is it? I don't know. It's been so long since I've seen any of JJ's Star Trek.
I know, and yeah, but regardless, that approach is the right way to go. We do have 3C here who is in to join us. Thank you, man, for coming on, even though you're a little late. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, I know. My bad. If I'm being completely honest, you might know as a Funko Pop collector today, they dropped them. And so I went to the bloodbath in the mall, and it took much longer than I thought.
Dude, you should have done it online.
Oh, yeah, because everything's working smoothly on that. For those who don't know, they have a new website, and it's horrible.
Oh, it was ass yesterday. We were talking about that, but before we even get any further down the Funko rabbit hole, Chris, let's get your take on the Lando series. Donald Glover coming back, possibly Billy Dee Williams. What do you make of it? What do you think they're going to do with the show in the direction that it's going to go in?
Yeah, so like if you cast someone like Donald Glover to be your Lando, and he was one of the best parts of that Solo movie. I mean, even if you're not continuing the Han Solo trilogy, you don't just let a character like that go. And Lando's still a very popular character. He was well accepted with the fans when that came out. So yeah, I'm down for it. I just want to see what Obi-Wan is going to be like first before I go into another show. And yeah, and it will depend. If Obi-Wan does not do good, they'll probably hold back on more shows, but I'm all up for it.
Obi-Wan seems like it's heading into a live action Clone Wars, which I'm excited for because I just started watching Clone Wars for the first time.
Yeah. You're loving it so far? I take it. Yeah,
so good. I stayed up until like 11 or 12 o'clock last night watching episodes. Just I couldn't stop.
It's so good, and it only gets better as it goes on.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with you. Some of the viewers here in the chat saying, Dennis S saying, I mean, I like Lando and Donald Glover's portrayal, but still, could they for once use their brains and come up with new standalone stories? You can make any sort of genre in the universe, yet we get 100 movies of the same period. Again, I get that, man. That's been my biggest gripe with Star Wars, and especially with the sequel trilogy, it just feels like retreads of stuff. So I get that, and I totally agree with you. I want to see Old Republic stuff. I want to see them go like so far in the past and just tell stories with new characters. That would be my first thing that I want to see from Star Wars.
One character that I would like to see them talk a little bit more about is Zori from Rise of Skywalker.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I would love to see Kerry Russell reprise that in like either a standalone film for like Disney Plus or a small series, because we got zilch on her in Rise of Skywalker. And seeing her and Oscar Isaac, and I'm like, I want to know more about their relationship because it feels very forced.
Yeah, it was so forced.
I want to know more of this backstory.
Same.
So that's something I would like to see if they were going to continue staying in this same time period. But I would like to see Old Republic and just way in the past, way in the future, stuff that's not even related to now.
Yeah, that's the big thing. Is just like let's tell new stories with new characters. I mean, they're sort of doing that with Mandalorian, which is good to see, even though I have my issues with that show. But and then Connor Stork saying maybe if Solo were a Disney Plus series, it could have been more well received than the film. That's a good point. I mean, I wasn't high on the idea of Solo to begin with, so I don't know if it would have won me over, but I think maybe that would have been the better route to go. I don't know. Amy, do you think that?
As probably the only person here who loves Solo, I think it would have been interesting. They could have broken it up more, done a little bit more adventures, and maybe we would have gotten like an episode or two with Kira instead of just sticking with Solo.
Yeah.
And we could have gotten a little bit more with Lando, maybe a Solo episode with Chewbacca. Like all kinds of different things if we did it in a series versus just a film.
Yeah, good point, Chris.
Yeah. That would have worked nice. I still like the movie. I thought it was fine. I just wonder what they're going to do with that. Do you think if Lando happens, will he reprise the role as Han Solo and show up every now and then?
Yeah, that was one of the things that someone in the chat mentioned earlier was, that gives Alden Ehrenreich the in to play Solo again. But both Amy and I were basically saying, oh, we don't want to see him too much in there because he's already he's gotten his movie and everything. We don't need that much more of Han. Plus, the other thing comes up. It's like, how many times is Lando going to let Han like rip him off or vice versa?
Yeah.
It's just like if they keep having interactions too many times, they just become stupid. And it's like, well, come on, guys.
It'll get stale.
Yeah, it'll get stale. And then it kind of, subsequently ruins what happens in Empire. So I agree with you. I don't want to see too many interactions between them.
Or we can see something where it's like, instead of Han ripping Lando off, Lando gets the one up and rips Han off. And so it kind of plays on their dynamic, and they will keep one-upping each other. But that's the only thing I would want to see if we do get Alden Ehrenreich in the series. Like I said, 2 episodes tops. Yeah. Don't need to overdo it, especially if Solo 2 does happen, like everyone's saying, Snyder Cut style.
Yeah. Snipe makes so. Listen, anything's the Ayer cut might happen now. So if that happens, then I think anything's possible. 2 final points here before we move away from the Lando series. Jack Alexander saying, "I'd love a Lando show. I still want a live action Crimson Dawn Maul series."
Oh wow.
Yes.
That could be interesting. I don't know if that alone could work at a series, but if you tie that into, Lando, if you tie it into like another series that happens in between 3 and 4 or something like that, where Maul is still obviously alive, Solo 2 perhaps, then that would be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, I think Noah Outlaw tweeted something yesterday with a gif of Darth Maul, and I was like, oh my God, if we get something Darth Maul related, my childhood nightmare is coming alive yet again. Yeah. But I want it. I want it to like be kind of a horror, because Darth Maul, I know for a lot of people our age, that movie came out when I was 9. Yeah. And he terrified me. He was the reason I did not want to see that film at all. And I think it would be really fun to have kind of a horror where the villain is the protagonist. And I think having like a small series of Darth Maul being a horror villain protagonist would be super interesting, especially within Star Wars, where you haven't had anything horror related.
Yeah, that's a good point. Plus, you have all the stuff that the character work that was done during the Clone Wars, which you'll get to.
I haven't gotten there yet. I'm halfway through season 2. I literally the reason I stayed up until 11 was because I got to the first Bad Batch episode where you meet the Bad Batch initially. Okay. Yeah. No. If they can integrate Maul and do it right, I'm all for it. But. Guys, we spent a lot of time talking about Lando, the main topic of today. So we want to hear your thoughts and opinions on it down in the comments section below, or in the chat if you're watching us live. Are you buying this rumor? If it happens, are you excited about the prospects of a Lando series? Let us know down in the comments. So, Chris, I'm actually going to defer to you for this next topic, because I believe you did a video on it yesterday, kind of breaking down some of the Scream 5 news. And there was just like there were so many weeds to kind of cut through in order to get to it. So I was just going to have you sort of explain what's going down with Scream 5 right now.
Yeah, so let me go ahead and pull up that image. So if you don't know, Scream 5 is in the works. We've heard for a while because of the Weinstein situation. They're selling all their properties because they went bankrupt, and Spyglass picked it up, wants to do a new movie. They hired Radio Silence, which is the guys who did Ready or Not. Really looking forward to it. The question has always been, is this going to be a direct sequel? Is this actually Scream 5, or is this more of a Force Awakens relaunch, soft reboot sort of situation? And we got some descriptions of the characters that'll be in the movie, and it really is looking more of like a soft reboot than bringing in the old cast members and having them be the main focus. Now, these were provided by someone who works with them, who was, I guess, auditioning or was part of the movie, and they just seen my videos online and were kind enough to share. And so that's kind of how I just shared them online.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Do you want me to like read the descriptions? There's a lot of them, or do you just want me to give a general idea? Okay, so I'll just You go in and do however much you want. Okay, so there's like 8 new characters. Some of the big standouts is, so the main character will be a girl by the name of Sarah. Things to point out that they have here: 24 years old, smart, caring. Sarah left her hometown as soon as she turned 18. Haunted by a troubled past, she relies on medication to keep herself sane. Sarah was a teenage bad girl, but now has a steady boyfriend and works at Costco. I thought really interesting that they included Costco in the description. I have no idea.
Is Costco going to be a sponsor or something?
I was just about to say,
right? Well, I mean,
just get a big branded Costco deal, and that's going to support the whole movie.
And so, and then that leads into the rest of the main characters, which are 18 years old or younger. So it's going to go for like a high school vibe, it looks like. Sarah will have a sister by the name of Teresa. And Teresa's kind of upset with her sister because she left her at this troubled home life with whatever the mystery is of what happened. So there's kind of not a good relationship. So I think it'll be Teresa's friends who are being haunted. And then when Sarah hears about that, she comes back to her hometown, because that's the plot we've heard, is that some murders go down and then a main character will come back to the hometown to investigate on it. Other big standouts here, that's the first time for the Scream franchise, is there's going to be twin characters. And they're going to be Hispanic. That's if in all the past Scream movies, we haven't had any Hispanic characters. Me and myself being Hispanic, I thought that was really awesome. I'll read you their description. The first one is Maud. She's 18 years old, Hispanic, confident, outspoken, Cal's twin sister. Maud has absolutely no filter, says whatever comes to her mind. And then her twin brother is a typical jock, is a guy in high school, football player. But from the sounds of this, the main theme of the movie will be family, sister relationship. I have no idea how the original trio is going to factor into this, because as of right now, the only confirmed cast member we have is David Arquette, and that's Dewey. So we know they're involved. Maybe it's just a matter of money situation. I know Courtney Cox is difficult to get because she has all that money from Friends, and she's actually a high-billed actress.
Yeah. She needs all that money for plastic surgery.
Yeah.
So I don't know. What are your guys' takes on this and hearing about this?
Yeah, Amy, we'll start with you. Yeah.
I'm very excited. I was telling Griffin earlier that Scream is one of those it's like one of the most perfect films in my mind. It can do no wrong. Nothing is wrong with it. And it's one of the films that actually got me into horror in I don't know, whenever I was in college, I took a horror film class, we watched Scream, and I absolutely fell in love. And I have only seen the first 3, and I enjoyed the second one, not too big on the third one, and I have not seen the fourth one, but I'm really excited if they do get Neve Campbell back, that she was my favorite part of them. So I'm like, I am so excited.
For sure. Yeah, I mean, I was already. I mean, to be honest, I was kind of hesitant about the idea of a new Scream movie without Wes Craven. Like, I think many of us were. Yeah. But if anyone's going to do a new Scream movie, you get the guys from Radio Silence, who did Ready or Not, and oh God, what did they do before Ready or Not? They did a
bunch of shorts, a bunch of YouTube stuff.
Yeah, and some like anthology stuff. Yeah, but if you look across their filmography, they do have a style that aligns with Scream. They are rooted in horror comedy, so that's promising. And when you hear that, when they pitched Neve Campbell on the idea of doing a Scream 5, they were like, "Listen, we want to be as respectful and as true to Wes Craven's vision as we possibly can." So it's like, when you factor in all of that, you start to soften me up on the idea about a new Scream movie. The fact that they've also approached Neve Campbell is also encouraging. I think they're probably still working out the details on that, but I would find it very hard to believe that she's not going to be in the film. How big of a role she's going to have, I'm assuming it'll be supporting, and she'll sort of be like a mentor for whoever's going through this torment and whatnot. But the thing that you said, Chris, that really fascinates me is the girl who works at Costco. That to me, that is the opening of the film. That to me is the opening of the film, where the Ghostface killer is chasing her down to Costco and she gets killed.
It's gonna be some big name star.
Absolutely.
Oh
yeah.
Because you can't have a Scream movie open without having that.
Oh no.
100%. Yeah. So, and I don't know if that was like a theory that you kind of made in your video, Chris, but like, I think that for sure is what they're going to do with that character.
Yeah. And I mean, how do you guys feel? Because there was a lot of backlash when these came out, because it points to the fact that, the original trio is just not the main focus. And I guess they'll be mentors, or that's how I see it, is that this happens and she's like, "Oh, I've been through this. Let me tell you what's about to happen, or how to help you out, or whatever." I mean, the main reason also is because Scream 4 did not do well at the box office. I looked up the box office the other day just to see, and it made half of what all the other Scream movies ever made in total. And so it's like, business-wise, it just doesn't make sense to keep them being the main guys when they're not even huge stars, unfortunately. And movies just don't put numbers at the end of their movies unless you're Fast and Furious and you're just proud of having 20 movies. But other than that, you look at Candyman or the Halloween series, they've dropped adding numbers and have added just taglines because adding numbers kind of limits your audience.
That's a good point.
Makes sense.
Yeah, well, and I think the other thing is like Scream came out at a time where it was the original Scream came out at a time where it was just like you're just getting bombarded with all of these slasher films and like each one is worse than the next, and then Scream comes along. Well, and actually, we got to give credit to Wes Craven's New Nightmare, which really laid the foundation for Scream. But Scream comes along, and it's like, okay, we're going to make fun of that because literally every horror film and every slasher film that came out since then, or that is coming out during this time is the same thing. So it's like, what are the tropes? What can we say? How can we comment on this? And that's what made that movie so fresh. And with each one, they basically did the same thing. I mean, even 3 for some of its flaws, I think it also made like a clever commentary. And then you get to 4, which is like pretty, it's several years removed from the last time they made a Scream movie, and they're trying to comment on the horror tropes of, I guess, when did that come out? Like in 2011 or something like that?
2011. They were trying to make fun of reboots and reboots and remakes.
Yeah, exactly. And so it's like, because that was like right when like the Friday 13th reboot was coming out, the Nightmare on Elm Street reboot, all that stuff. So they're commenting on that. It was good. It wasn't like as groundbreaking as the original. Yeah. Now, fast forward to Scream 5, and the question becomes, what are the horror tropes of today that you can make fun of?
Paranormal probably, I think, would be the big one.
I mean, that would...
Yeah, but I don't know how it would tie in with Ghostface.
I don't either.
Ghostface he's an entity. He's a spirit.
Yeah. It's the ghost of Billy Loomis come back to haunt everybody.
Oh God. Yeah. Well, but I agree. It's like, what are the tropes? I mean, socially relevant horror films are really big right now, but is that appropriate to make fun of? Like, I mean, the Conjuring stuff is big, so maybe touching on like ghost hunters and whatnot. I agree. Maybe that's a route that can go on, but I don't know. There's definitely a challenge here for Radio Silence in tackling this film. As long as they can do it right, I'm all for it though, to be honest with you. So, any final thoughts on Scream, guys, before we move on?
Just hope it's good.
Yeah.
you know they want to make like 2 more of these, so I hope it's good enough for that.
And with Radio Silence at the helm, I have confidence that it could be, because Ready or Not was probably my favorite horror film of last year.
It was really good. That took me by surprise. I mean, the trailer looked great, but like I didn't think the movie was going to be like even better than what the trailer promised.
Plus Samara Weaving.
We stand.
I talked about how much I love Samara Weaving today. So
yeah, I mean, she's great. Yeah, because we were talking about the Bill and Ted trailer. Yeah, and she's in that. So I'm all for it. But listen, guys, we want to hear about what you all think of this Scream 5 news, these casting news. Are you still excited about the prospect of a Scream 5? Do you dig the direction they're going in? And then also, most importantly, what are the horror tropes of today that you think Scream 5 is going to poke fun at? We want to hear all about it down in the comment section below or in the chat if you're watching us live. All right, moving on to the next topic, which this should be this is an interesting one. So this one dropped yesterday, and I had to like do a double take because I couldn't believe that this is actually a thing. But according to Insider, Dave Franco is going to play Vanilla Ice in a biopic of the rapper. And basically, during their conversation, he said that he's hoping the movie will be like The Disaster Artist, obviously the movie about the room with that he made with his brother James, and that it'll celebrate the artist instead of just poking fun at him, which I do think is the right route to go. Franco said he's spoken to Vanilla Ice and, quote, can't help but think about the rabbit holes I'm going to go down to get ready for the role. So that's really interesting. Chris, what Dave Franco's Vanilla Ice, do you buy it? And do you think the show's going to be good?
So it's a show, not a movie then?
Or sorry, the movie's going to be good.
Oh, okay. That's one casting, I never would have thought of, never in a million years. Like, who would you want to play Vanilla Ice? I'm like, Gosling? I don't know. And then Dave Franco's name popped up, and you're like, you know what? That's perfect. I really like what Dave Franco's doing for himself in his career, because it seemed like he wasn't as ambitious as his brother at first, popping up in these like low raunchy comedies and side roles. But now he's directing a movie, The Rental, which I hear is okay. And now he's trying his hand at this and comparing it to Disaster Artist, meaning he's going to take the work seriously, but add a little fun and flair to it, just like the Disaster Artist was. Man, I'm looking forward to it also because where I live here, Vanilla Ice's hometown, he's a bit of an urban legend here. And it'd be really funny to see Dave Franco go through all that. I wonder what they'll tackle, because, I mean, it really all just leads to his one song. So I don't know if there's much of a backstory. Are we going to go into the Pilgrim years where he's doing that show where he's – have you seen that? Where he's
no.
what's it called? He lives with, what's those Amish? He lives with the Vanilla Ice goes Amish.
Okay.
Oh my god.
I would be down to see that.
I need to see that.
Honestly, I think, well, he's talking about the rabbit holes that he's going to go down to get ready for the character. Yeah. So I don't know. Maybe Dave Franco spends some time with the Amish. I have no idea. But Amy, what do you make of all this?
Oh man, I have no clue. I want to see if this is going to be like the Disaster Artist. I need to see it because I love the Disaster Artist. It's hilarious, and James Franco was perfect for the role of Tommy Wiseau. And when I was scrolling through Twitter yesterday and I saw this headline pop up and they had a picture of Dave Franco and Vanilla Ice side by side, I was like, if he gets a haircut and frosted his tips and puts the lion shape inside, they could look identical almost. Yeah. And I'm interested to see what may come, because God, that's got to be insane.
Yeah, that's going to be a wild movie. I agree. I mean, look, it seems like Dave Franco is willing to put the work in to prepare for the character and just like 100% commit, similar to what James did with Tommy Wiseau, which, I will say, had the unfortunately, had the accusations not come out about James Franco, I still think he would have been nominated for that performance. Yeah, because separating the art from the artist, that was an incredible performance, to the point where I didn't even you don't notice James Franco at all in there.
He embodied Tommy not only in the acting, acting portion of it, but the directing portion of it as well. Yeah, because I heard on set he was acting like Tommy as he was directing people.
Right. Wow. Well, and here's the other thing. Dave Franco's now a writer and director. Is he going to write and direct this film? The Rental. I mean, I don't know. Listen,
I haven't seen it yet. Have you seen it? Is it good or watchable?
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. It's just very generic. That's the thing. And it kind of tries to tackle interesting things, but then it doesn't it kind of stops tackling them and then becomes something else. So it's there is promise there for an up and coming filmmaker. And perhaps had he been in a different genre, the film would have been better. So maybe that genre is a biopic. Who knows? I would be okay with Franco directing if someone else who maybe had a more seasoned hand wrote the project. Then you can get into some interesting things here. But just in terms of the project in general, I agree with you, Amy. If it's going to be like the Disaster Artist, sign me the hell up, because the Disaster Artist was my second favorite film of the year that it came out. It's so good. And I've been meaning to rewatch it.
They need to get A24 in on. I just rewatched it last week and God, it still holds up. It's so good. They need to get A24 in on this Vanilla Ice thing.
I think they could, if they kind of pitch it to them as hey, we're doing the Disaster Artist again, but with this guy. Yeah. I think they could definitely do it.
I think that's what put A24 really, really on the map recently, was that the explosion of that film.
Yeah, it did kind of cross over into the mainstream in that regard with that. But I totally agree. This is wild. I'm so in for it. I think that gives Dave Franco a chance to really sink his teeth into a meaty role and showcase the full range of his acting ability, which I don't think he's really been given a chance to. Kind of going off of what you said, Chris, he had those roles in the Jump Street movies, which was good, but I feel like there's more there that he can do. Same. So who knows? I think it's interesting, but guys, let us know your thoughts and opinions on Dave Franco and Vanilla Ice down in the comment section below. Does this excite you at all? How wild do you think it's going to get? We want to hear all about it down in the comment section. All right. Moving on to the next story, which is also kind of a weird story, but when you dig a little bit deeper into it, it becomes more interesting. So Taron Egerton is actually set to star in a movie about the tumultuous history over the ownership of the popular video game Tetris, and he's going to be playing the creator of Tetris, Hank Rogers. So I found this from a bunch of different sources, Screen Rant, and they were saying that it's coming from the Daily Mail. So again, maybe not the most trustworthy source, but it seems that it's legit. So the Daily Mail is reporting that Egerton will play Dutch video game designer Hank Rogers in Tetris. Rogers secured the rights to distribute Tetris on video game consoles, which helped the game's popularity. He's also the founder of the Tetris company, which licensed the Tetris trademark, and the film will reportedly delve into the legal battles which took place during the Cold War over ownership of the game. And, right off the bat there, it's like, okay, I thought they were going to make a movie about Tetris, but then it's just like, oh no, it's about the creation of Tetris and kind of how controversial it was. And it only gets more interesting from here. The bit that I read from Screen Rant says that Tetris will likely focus on the disputes between a Soviet computer programming agency and companies run by the late media mogul Robert Maxwell and his son Kevin. After a lengthy back and forth, Rogers was able to secure the intellectual property rights to the popular video game for himself and the game's creator, Alexei Pajit. I don't know how to say the last name, some Russian guy. But up until that point, Rogers and that guy hadn't made money off of Tetris. But long rumored to be the subject of basically their whole journey there was rumored to be the subject of the movie adaptation. And with Egerton attached, the theory is that it's looking to be sort of like the social network in which it explores the creation of a very popular and well-known sort of thing, which I guess is every time a movie idea like this comes around, the comparisons to the social network come into play. But Amy, what do you make of all this? Does this actually excite you, the prospect of a Tetris movie?
It excites me more than what I initially thought it was when I saw the headline, but did not read the article, because I was like, Taron Egerton in a Tetris movie. Is it going to be like that one movie with Pac-Man? Where the video game comes alive.
Pixels.
Yes, that. I was like, is it gonna be that? Because I don't want to see that, and I think that's a huge step down for Taron Egerton. Like, he didn't get nominated for his Oscar, and he's gonna do a really dumb kids movie. But this, I think, sounds way more intriguing, especially giving that social network-esque spin to it. I think I would be interested in seeing this.
Well, that's the thing. It's like Taron Egerton is sort of in his own right becoming the king of biopics. I mean, he did Eddie the Eagle, which is phenomenal. I mean, obviously the Kingsman movies really put him on the map, but Eddie the Eagle is great. He did another one, and then obviously, Rocket Man getting awards love and recognition for. So like this, maybe it's the next step to an Academy Award or something like that. But Chris, what do you make of all this?
Yeah, I was same as you. I thought, it was like a Tetris movie. How are they going to do? Is it like pixels? What's it going to be? Yeah. And then you read into it, and it's one of those interesting stories, like the founder or the social network. And it's like, oh, another thing that's super famous that got stolen. Like, how many of these properties were stolen? Because I think there was a Monopoly movie with the same situation. Monopoly was a IP that was stolen and all that. So, but with Taron Egerton, I'm really looking forward to it. I remember for the longest time he was like rumored to be Spider-Man. I always wanted him to do that, but stepping away to like the more serious side of filmmaking, I'm really looking forward to see what he does there.
Yeah, I mean, he showed promise. Like, he's got the acting shot. Like, Rocket Man showed that this guy is an acting force. So, I mean, first of all, I didn't know any of this information about Tetris before reading up on the movie that was going to be made. So it's like, if most of us didn't know about it, I have to assume that it's not a very well known story out there in the ether. So like, that's I don't know. It just sounds like a really interesting concept. It's like you're diving into like Cold War stuff. These Russia, like the collaborations with the like some of the Soviets, and then like the media mogul stuff. Like, I don't know. It just seems like there's so much here to mine that makes for a really interesting story. And I believe Matthew Vaughn's producing it. Obviously he's got a great working relationship with Taron Egerton. I don't know who's going to direct it, whether or not it's going to be like a Dexter Fletcher, who's already got an established relationship with Taron and did Eddie the Eagle and Rocket Man, whether it's someone new who comes in there. I have no idea, but I mean, call me crazy, but like I maybe not crazy, but it's just like I'm shocked that I'm all in on this because I wasn't expecting anything from it. But it sounds like it'll be an interesting film for sure. Quick shout out here to Sharonda from Payerway. She is in here.
Hey,
Sharonda, great to see you. Going back to the previous story, she says Jim Carrey is the only vanilla ice I acknowledge.
I mean, he can do it. Jim Carrey can pull off anything.
Yeah, he took Andy Kaufman serious. I don't know how he would have done that.
That's true. That is true. But yeah, and then Dennis S saying, haven't heard of this at all, but it sounds like The Social Network, which I'm all for. Yep. I mean, who knows? Maybe they tap Aaron Sorkin to write it.
Hey, that's what I was thinking when you were talking about. I'm like, they could get Aaron Sorkin to write this.
I mean, maybe. I don't know. He's kind of busy directing though. You know, the trial of the Chicago 7, those like images first came out.
I saw those yesterday, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit off topic, but like did that get you excited for the film?
Oh yeah, I haven't heard anything about this so far except for the fact that Sorkin's writing and directing it, and seeing those images, I'm like, yep. I was sold on it before because Sorkin, but those images, I'm just like, yeah, I'm ready for this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Chris, did you get a chance to see those at all?
Oh yeah, I did too, but I just saw the images. I don't know too much about the film.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, it's kind of hard to judge the film off of those images, but like Sacha Baron Cohen looks great. Obviously, Jeremy Strong is in there. Did you that article that was going around where he's like, I wanted Aaron Sorkin to gas me so that I could really feel what was going on. I was like, what the fuck, man? Like, method acting.
You're getting too method. Like sometimes it's okay for it to not be real.
I know. It's method acting is something where it's just like I appreciate it when I see the final result on screen, but just like hearing the stories about it and like the shit that the cast members have to go through, it's just like come on, dude. I guess Jared Leto really ruined it for everyone, to be honest with you, and all his stupidity. But anyways, I agree. That looks great, and that's going to be probably a big Oscar contender for sure, I think. But going back to this Tetris movie, I think this also has awards potential for whenever it comes out, and I'm definitely really excited for it. So guys, let us know your thoughts and opinions on Tetris, the movie, whatever the hell they're going to call it, down in the comment section below. Taron Egerton.
I really hope they call it Tetris the movie.
That would be so bizarre. Just absolutely mind-blowing.
Then it makes it
ridiculous.
Pixels.
Yeah, then it really becomes Pixels. Oh my gosh, excuse me. So yeah, let us know your thoughts and opinions on that down in the comment section below. All right, guys, we got one more news topic, and then we're going to start taking live questions. So be sure to send in your live questions, so we can answer them and all that stuff. We'll save a little bit of time for that. All right, so moving into the final news topic of the day, Edgar Wright. He's moving on to his next project. Obviously, he's still got Late Night in Soho coming out, but he's partnered with Amblin to develop, direct, and executive produce Stage 13 with Saturday Night Live alum Simon Rich, who's also going to be writing the script and also producing the film as well. So the concept of the movie is based on Rich's short story of the same title. The film follows the ghost of a silent film era actress that has haunted the titular soundstage of a backlot for decades. After a struggling director meets the ghost, they find an unexpected kinship and team to make their mark on the world. So, first of all, that is one hell of a synopsis. It's very, very Edgar Wright. But Amy, are you excited about this Stage 13? What do you make of that synopsis?
This is the first thing I've heard of it, but I am interested. Anything with old silent film era is right up my alley. It's my favorite era of film, probably. I love like silent film transitioning into the talkies, but it'll be interesting to see kind of what happens with this, what it turns out to be.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, listen, Edgar Wright's at the helm. I feel very confident in it. It's going to be an Amblin film, so that'll be like a cool little partnership going on there. But yeah, Chris, thoughts on this? Is this your first time hearing of it?
No, I heard it the other day, and a couple thoughts on it. So interesting because Last Night in Soho, which is Edgar Wright's movie that we're all waiting on, that's also a bit of a period piece. I think it involves time travel, if I'm not mistaken. But it's kind of interesting. He wants to go to that side of flavor again. And I mean, any other director attached to this, I would have thought, I don't know how this is going to go, but this seems like right up Edgar Wright's lane, like the right amount of goofy meta-ness. And I like when directors tackle something that deals with like film history. You know, there's going to be a lot of homages and stuff like that to the history of film. So I'm looking forward to that.
Well, I think the key here is that with Edgar Wright, it's not going to be superficial. Like, it's going to be very clever. It's not going to just be like, oh, look at this. Like, oh, we're in black and white now. Like, no, it's actually going to be, well thought out and written, that's what always gets me most excited about Edgar Wright's projects, are just like, his cheekiness, his cleverness, and like how much comedy is going to be in the film too, because it's like when the synopsis starts out, you're like, oh, okay, this is a little bit of a genre piece, and it's going to be a little bit scary. And then you get to the end, it's like, oh, well, it's this actress that forms a kinship with a ghost, and they like kind of have like a career together. It's like, oh, okay, that sounds like something that Edgar Wright would do when he was making like the Cornetto trilogy or something like that. So, I'm totally down for this. Anything that Edgar Wright does, I'm immediately interested in. Speaking of Edgar Wright, do you think we're gonna get a Baby Driver 2 anytime soon? No, anyone?
Oh man, if they do, they'll do the thing where it's in the same vein but with a different driver, a new baby.
A new baby, and all the drivers have to be named Baby.
Yeah, exactly.
It's just no questions asked. It's just everyone's name is
the
Baby.
James Bond thing.
Yeah, there you go. You got Griff
there.
There
you go, just for you, Griff.
Thank you. Yes, that now you've sold me on it. I'm into it. Yeah. Unfortunately, I don't think. Well, not unfortunately, but we will not be seeing Ansel Elgort back in the role anytime soon. Which actually, I was going to ask you, how do you think that's going to affect West Side Story?
Man, I think they're just going to I think they'll either ignore it and just keep him out of the press junkets and stuff like that, interviews. But he's like the main character, so you can't even take him out of the trailer.
I know. So, it's like he's front and center.
They're probably going to push it back for a little bit even more.
Yeah. I don't know.
I doubt they could reshoot the whole movie, though. I don't think they're going to do that.
They're not going to do what they did for All the Money in the World. They're not going to do that and just replace it. Like, it's going to be way too much.
Honestly, the only thing they can do is put out a statement saying sorry, but a lot of other people worked hard on this, and I hope you guys can look past it. I think that's it.
And I mean, they could do like what they did with a lot of like the Weinstein movies that recently came out and just hold off. They're just going to hold off until it kind of blows over.
Yeah. That's not a bad. It's not a bad thing. Yeah, I mean, listen, Christopher Plummer is probably able and willing to replace Ansel Elgort in all of the dance numbers.
I want to see him dance.
I would love to see that. And actually, there's a deep fake probably waiting to be made there when the movie inevitably comes out, and everyone just replaces Ansel's face with Christopher Plummer's face. So, absolutely.
Okay. This is my official request. Make that happen.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. I hope that does happen, but.
If
anyways,
it does happen,
guys,
we call it here.
Yeah, we called it. You heard it here first, folks. Christopher Plummer is going to be in West Side Story in one way or the other. He'll be there. But anyways, guys, so that's going to do it for that. The news segment of the show. Start sending your questions in if you have any. If you don't, then whatever. But let us know your thoughts and opinions on Edgar Wright's new project, his partnership with Amblin, down in the comments section below. While we're waiting on some questions to come in, guys, what have you both been watching recently? Other than Clone Wars.
Yeah, other than Clone Wars. I watched on Monday. I played like 3 Netflix films, like just in the background while I was working, and I watched The Wrong Missy with a little cameo from Vanilla Ice. Biggest mistake of my life, but I'm really glad that I wasn't paying attention for half of it. Terrible movie.
Oh,
so
it's
bad.
Awful. It's so bad. It's bafflingly bad.
Literally,
and such talented people are involved in these Adam Sandler Netflix productions.
I was like, okay, like it's gonna be okay. Like David Spade, he's a little touch and go now, but I'm blanking on her name right now. The main character, the Missy.
I know what you're talking about.
Oh yeah,
she's so annoying in the trailers. I don't think I could have sat through the whole movie.
Her podcast with Paul F. Tompkins is great. Threesome that she does with Paul F. Tompkins and somebody else. I am blanking on his name too, but Lauren Lapkus, that's who it is. Like, I love her. She's a great comedian, but yeah, man, that movie was just. I don't often write reviews on Letterboxd, but literally my review was I made a huge mistake.
Yeah. I mean that. Yeah, it's not good. I would have advised against that, but listen, you made it through on the other end.
I'm trying to watch 366 films this year, so.
Oh God! So I guess you got to throw in some doozies there.
Yeah.
Every now and then. Well, what else were you watching on Netflix outside of that?
I watched that Mucho Mucho More documentary. It's interesting.
Oh yeah.
I had never heard of Walter Mercado before then, but
yeah.
God, he's an interesting man.
Yeah. I had heard that one was good. Chris, what have you been watching lately, if anything?
I finally gave into the hype just because I missed it as a kid, or I just didn't get it as a kid. Avatar: The Last Airbender.
Mm-hmm.
I remember seeing a few episodes as a kid and just being like, "This is all right," but I don't get it. And then you just see like every week, top show on Netflix, and I'm seeing all these people praise and love it. And now that I'm just like, what is that? I need to understand. So I just started like the first couple episodes, and it's pretty good.
Yeah. I haven't watched. I think I only watched the first 2 to 3 seasons when it was first airing on Nick, and I remember being like absolutely in love with it. That is on my list once I finish Clone Wars to watch again.
Yeah.
Especially with Korra coming out, and I haven't seen any of Korra.
And I'm interested to see that as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Is Korra coming out on Netflix or is it coming out on another streaming?
It's Netflix.
It is Netflix. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I know
the only other streaming place it would go to is Hulu, but Hulu's Disney owned.
Okay.
And Korra's and Nick show, it's a Viacom show.
Right. Because I know you can watch Korra on Amazon if you buy like the Nick's Picks sort of like add on to that, which I've actually I've been watching a lot of Fairly Odd Parents recently just before going to bed, which oh my God, I forgot how good that show is.
I love that show.
I love it.
It's
funny.
Good up to a certain time. I think after the first movie came out, that's where I don't
even remember. The live action movie?
Or no, when the baby came
Drake
in.
Bell.
When the baby came in, that's when I was like, okay.
You know what? I think you're right. That's sort of where
I stopped watching too.
Yeah, it got me up for it. It's sort of like the same thing with SpongeBob. It's like after the first 3 seasons in that first movie, it just dipped.
I don't know. They finally added a bunch of Viacom channels to YouTube TV, which is my cable.
Yes,
my cable subscription.
They raised our price though.
Yeah, they raised the price, but I'm like, I have been saying for years, I got YouTube TV the day that it was available. Yeah. And I've been saying I will pay to have Nickelodeon and VH1 because I want to watch Drag Race. I want to watch SpongeBob.
Yeah.
And on the weekends, SpongeBob is on 24/7 pretty much on Saturdays and Sundays. So I will have it on in the background while I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And I still get some chuckles out of it. I still laugh. And it's some of the new episodes.
Really? Okay. Mm-hmm. So, I know there was a period there where it just like got really weird and whatnot. And then like after the second movie came out, I think they like did some changes. They brought back some of the writing crew, some of the original writing crew and stuff like that. And I heard that it got better, but like
it did get better. It's very strange because I think there was an episode I was watching. It was one of the newer seasons, and I'm pretty sure they made like a suicide joke or something. Wow. Something very dark. I can't remember off the top of my head, but I just like heard it in my periphery, and I was just like, did SpongeBob really just do a joke about death?
So weird.
Like in that vein. I'm like, well, I always like, and I'm going back and watching some of these old episodes, and I'm like, God, this show is from 1999. Yeah. And these jokes just flew over my head as a kid watching it. And I'm like, it was pretty heavy still. Yeah. Back then.
I mean, that's the thing. Yeah, like going, having just rewatched the first 3 seasons recently, which I do like several times a year, is some of those older episodes are just like, they're so like, I don't know. It's like a lot of the stuff just goes over kids' heads. And I just think it's like friggin' like even just like the phrasing of things. Like it might not necessarily be like I don't know, like dirty or raunchy or whatever. It'll just be like the way they say something is just so funny that a kid wouldn't really understand it, or like they'd use words that are a little bit above their reading level, and it's just like, oh, that's so funny. Like one of the big, like did you guys watch? Do you guys remember the one where? Oh God, what is it? where he's in the commercial for like that brief second, and like the fame immediately goes to his head.
Yes.
So everyone remembers that one because of the Striped Sweater song. But there are so many other jokes in that, and just like little movements where he's just like the people want him to make the patties. He's like, he's like, buns, all right, it's a risk, but just roll with it. And it's like, it's just the little things like that get me laughing.
That's why I loved Nick so much as a kid, and I still love it today, where I can't watch Disney Channel shows anymore. That's all I was allowed to watch when we started getting cable was Disney Channel, because it was very wholesome. But the reason I love Nick so much still to this day in my 30s is because they're not afraid to make those jokes.
Yeah.
They're not afraid to put a black screen up for 8 minutes and 46 seconds for kids to watch and understand what it means.
Yeah.
Where Disney won't do that.
No, I agree with you. Even like, because outside of SpongeBob and the Fairly Odd Parents, I also watched like a couple of episodes of The Amanda Show, which that's, my God, that was like a trip. But it's like watching that, and then also watching like an episode of like Nessie Classified, and then an episode of like
love that.
God, like Drake and Josh. It's like the quality of those shows so much better than the quality of the Disney Channel ones. Because I mean, going back and watching some of those, the Disney Channel ones, and comparing them to the Nick ones still kind of hold up.
Disney does not hold up. Like I rewatched a Hannah Montana episode. I started rewatching Girl Meets World, which is a spinoff of my favorite show in the entire world. Yeah. And Boy Meets World still holds up. Girl Meets World doesn't hold up as much, and that ended 3 years ago.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's crazy. But and I think a lot of the reason why, I mean, outside of the writing and the visual language of those shows on Nick, a lot of another reason why they're really successful is the voice acting talent behind it. I mean, like oh gosh, Darren, I'm forgetting his last name, but the guy who voices Cosmo and Timmy's dad in the Fairly Odd Parents is like, it's so funny, and it's his delivery that makes those lines so funny, because he's basically doing Phil Hartman with the dad. It's just like, it's so, oh God, it's rich. I completely agree with you. Those like 100% hold up, and it's really a shame because like, I mean, I'm sure like our parents were saying this when like they were seeing us watch the show, but it's like, I feel like kids today don't have those kinds of shows, you know?
No, they don't.
And with streaming, it's even more diverse. 'Cause like us, we're bonding right now over something that was really only available to us. Now kids have like 1,000 different options. It's like, I grew up watching the Transformers on Netflix. Oh, I grew up on YouTube with Coco Melon. It's like
or like PewDiePie or someone like I mean, just like YouTubers and stuff. It's like, so it's like, what are kids going to be saying? When
they're going to be reminiscing about their favorite TikTok video, like their favorite TikTok stars in like 30 years from now.
Yeah. No, I agree that it's totally like a weird sort of thing here, but let's get into some questions. We'll go back to that because I'm enjoying this conversation, but I do want to get into some questions here. So Dennis S asking, what are your general thoughts on books? Do you read a lot, and do you look at them as critically as you do movies? I'm probably not the right person to answer this. Are either of you big book readers?
Not really. I reread Harry Potter once a year. I read Lord of the Rings once every 5 years. That's about it. If I do read a book, it's usually one of these kinds of books.
Oh yeah, the filmmaking.
I'm a film student, so or I was a film student, but it's mostly like historical film books or film studies books that I read.
Yeah, for sure. Chris?
Not a critical book reader.
Yeah, like actual books, very rarely. Only for a movie. Like I know I read Ready Player One just because I was excited for what Steven Spielberg would do with that. I'm trying to read Dune, but there's a lot of made up. It is.
I'm not even going to touch that book.
Good luck with that, man.
Yeah, man. No, I got like 100 pages in, and I do like it, but there's like a reference at the back for these words they've made up for their lore, and I just constantly find myself flipping like, okay, what does that word mean? Okay, remember that. No, go back and
Yeah.
I'm telling my girlfriend because we're trying to read it together before the movie comes out. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm just gonna get the audiobook. I'm sorry. I know that's cheating, but like,
listen, dude, if I'm gonna read anything, it's gonna be via audiobook. Like, I just don't have the time to sit and like actually physically read it. I also have a tendency of whenever I pick up a book to read, I just fall asleep within a few minutes. I just can't do it, and it bugs me because it's one of those things that I wish I was into it.
Same.
I wish I was a hardcore reader because it's like I see so many people around me getting a lot of like enrichment and joy out of it. I'm just not one of those people. So if I'm gonna do it, plus I just love the audiobook production of certain things. Like the one for Ready Player One was phenomenal. The audiobook.
Which one did you listen to? Because I think there's two different ones.
The one
that I read the book when they first announced the film, and then I listened to the one. It was who did it? It was. I'm
blanking on the guy who did it. He was really good though.
Yeah, it's like a big time actor voicing, like reading the book, and it was fantastic. I listened to it after the movie came out, and I was like, God, this is so good. I should have waited and done it this way.
I have yet to like actually experience a book through audiobook. I'm just afraid I won't take it in. Do you think you get the same absorption of the knowledge or whatever it's trying to throw at you?
It's different because I will say, for as convenient and as much as I enjoy audiobooks, you make a good point. You don't absorb everything as well, and obviously a lot is I don't know, you're kind of relying upon the narrator and like the sound effects that they sort of incorporate into it to create the world for you instead of using your imagination. Like, listen, it's definitely probably the lazy way of doing it. It's also the most convenient and easy way of doing it, and I think there's still a lot to get out of that too, and there's an art to it for sure. But it's just listen, there've only been a handful of books in my lifetime that I've been able to actually sit down and just skim through. The Harry Potter series, obviously one of them. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, I blew through that thing because it is so good.
Most of Roald Dahl's books are really just, they're so easy to get through, and I love reading those.
Yeah, for sure. But to the second part of your question, do you look at them as critically as you do movies? No. And that's just because I can say, oh, this is a good book or this was a bad book, but I'm not able to really like dissect it as well.
A lot of that goes into, we haven't read that many books. It's different with movies where we see hundreds of them. So it's easy to be like, okay, that's not good. That's with a book, it's like, as long as I was able to sit down and read it and have a good time, it's a good book to me.
If I read a book, this is usually what happens. Look, camera.
Oh yeah, you start highlighting.
Yeah,
you're an active reader. Yeah.
But like this is also a book about post-war Hollywood, so I'm like, it's not like it's a story. I'm educating myself.
Yeah. So you're probably more of a nonfiction reader then.
Yes and no. Like if I'm going to read something, it's usually going to be something where I'm doing research for a video, or it's Harry Potter.
Okay. Yeah. Gotcha. Makes sense. Okay. Keep sending in your questions, guys. That was a great one. So keep sending them in. Zeke Gonzalez and Zaldi asking random question. Do you guys have any pets? Part 2, dogs or cats? I do have pets, but they do not live with me. They are at my parents' house. I have 2 dogs. Well, I did have 2 dogs. One of them passed earlier this year, but I have. Man. Yeah, it was time. It's never easy, but it was time. But I do have another dog. She's a very orange Brittany Spaniel, if you know what those dogs are. But yeah. So Amy.
I do. I have a little fat cat. She's very cute. She's a lopsided eye. I would go wake her up, but she's like way over there and my headphones won't reach her. She was over here earlier trying to butt in when we were talking about movies, but yeah, she is a fat fluff and I love her. She's named after my favorite Harry Potter character.
Oh.
Luna?
Yes.
Yeah.
Luna Bell.
Yeah. I love the Luna Instagram stories. They're my favorite. They're so good.
If you guys want to see my cat, I have 2 story highlights on my Instagram. That's how many pictures I take of my cat.
Listen, but I mean, if you don't have that many pictures of your pets, do you really have pets? I mean, that's
exactly.
What it comes down to. Chris,
I'm a dog person. I have 3 of them. I have a husky.
3?
Yes, in my small ass fucking. No, let me tell you, it's all because of my girlfriend. When I got with her, she had 1 dog, And then we moved in together, and I was like, look, I really don't want dogs. They have fur all over my clothes. It's a lot of maintenance, a lot taken care of. 4 years later, we have 3 now. So she won.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, man.
I mean, listen.
I have a husky, a chihuahua, and a terrier.
I want a chihuahua because I love small dogs.
Chihuahua. He is
I
hilarious.
want like Jenna Marbles' Marbles. Like I want a little chihuahua like that because he's just so cute. And I'm just like, oh, I love tiny animals.
Yeah, I'm a big dachshund guy. I love dachshund.
Nice.
The regular guys and then the long-haired dachshunds are beautiful, and I want one so bad. I also love corgis.
I love a corgi.
Corgi butts are the best thing in the world. I just want to say that. So yeah, I love them. But I've also, it's weird. I was never a cat person, but like having spent some more time around cats, my girlfriend has a cat who is, my God, the most vocal cat I think I've ever seen in my life. Like she consistently meows and is so needy and probably has a lot of anxiety. But it's like at first it was one of those things where it's like, oh, this is kind of cute. I love this. But it's like, now you spend enough time with her, you're just like, holy shit, this thing does not shut up. But she's a cute one. So I don't mind
cats. It's just I want something I can literally squeeze that won't hurt me for doing that. Like if I do that to my dogs, they'll deal with it.
Well, that's the thing with cats is like I don't know. I guess in my sort of interpretation, you never know what you're gonna get.
Yeah.
Like you have no idea if they're going to be welcoming or if they're going to be like really mean, and it's like you can't send them back. And the other downside of that is they live like a fairly long life, so it's like if it sucks, you are stuck with that bastard for a long time.
That's hilarious.
The cats also, like, I got Luna when she was 6 months old, I think, and if you get them young enough, they kind of mold to your personality. Nice. Luna and I are very in sync, especially recently having spent 6 months together, constantly. She is very much my personality. Like if she wants attention, she will come to you and be like, hey, I want attention. And she'll like come and talk to you. She'll brush up against you, rub her face on you, tell you hey, notice me. But if she doesn't, she will let you know very quickly. Very quickly.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about cats is they do kind of like conform to your personality for sure. Thanks for the question. James Mark here asking, Griff, I know you're not a big fan of the Child's Play reboot, but are you excited for the TV show? No, I don't care. But I will defer to the resident Child's Play fan on the panel. Chris, are you excited for the TV show?
Yeah, so some of y'all might know I didn't mind the reboot. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was refreshing. Of course, it has its flaws. It does not compare to the original, but I thought they did a good enough job where I would like to see more. It doesn't look like we're going to get it, but we are getting the original in a sci-fi TV show, and I am actually very excited for that. Chucky's one of those characters I saw as a kid, made me fall in love with the horror genre, so yeah, I'm really looking forward. And they just now confirmed today that Brad Dorff will be returning to voice, which is a given, but I mean, it's still cool to get that confirmation.
Yeah, for sure. Amy?
I am excited, especially this morning when I saw that Brad Dorff was coming back, because I have a weird relationship with Child's Play / like just Chucky in general. He's always kind of creeped me out, and it was only because I was interested in seeing the reboot because Aubrey Plaza and I love her that I watched the original Child's Play, and I actually kind of fell in love with it. And I was interested in seeing how they were going to take the technology Alexa kind of thing and incorporate that. And it didn't quite hit the mark for me, but it was interesting. And one of the things that I had against it, I love Mark Hamill. I mean, who doesn't love Mark Hamill? Listening to him voice Chucky was like watching the Joker from the animated series. And I couldn't get over that, even though I've only seen bits and pieces of the animated Batman series. I still felt like I was watching Joker.
That's interesting.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't think I didn't hate Mark Hamill as Chucky. I just thought the movie was god awful. Like it was
I can see that.
It just, I mean, like listen, I like the first Child's Play enough, and I get what they were doing in that. The sequel, or sorry, the reboot guy or whatever. It just, I don't know, man. It felt like generic. It was like, it wasn't good. I mean, like some of the kills were brutal, which was cool, but I was just like,
It felt like for me, it felt like a step up from the Halloween, Friday the 13th, all of those remakes, the Texas Chainsaw remakes that happened in the early 2000s. And it felt like kind of a step up from that, because slashers are like kind of my favorite genre of horror. So it's like seeing the slasher remake step itself up a little bit was interesting. But yeah, I agree. It wasn't like the best film ever. I was appreciative of having the slasher genre make somewhat of a comeback, which I think is also why I'm excited for Scream.
Yeah, for sure. Really, well, and like the Halloween movies, I think it's great to see those coming back and doing so well, for sure. Okay, another question here. 402-1971. How far back does Amy go with her interest in classic movies? I have some suggestions if she is interested. Well,
I'm always interested in classic movies suggestions. My interest in film goes all the way back to the very first, like, when they made that like spinning thing with the horses and they just photographed it.
Yeah.
I love film, like especially historical film. Yeah. And give me all the suggestions, because if you do not know, I have a series on my channel, you can't really see it, where I am watching all 1001 movies on the Life of Pi edition of the 1001 movies you must see before you die. Mm-hmm. So give me all the suggestions, because I had nothing but time right now.
She'll take them. She will take them. Yeah, that's the one. That's one of the things I love about the content you produce on your channel, is like, you know, the 1001 sort of thing that you're doing, the journey, and like you go like all the way back into like, you know, exploring classic films and whatnot. And it's great, because I feel like more of that content is needed. And like, I know, like, I try to do it when I can. Obviously, like the Criterion and Classic show that Tyler and I started is on a little bit of a break now, where we're still figuring, like, you know, out what I'm doing for the live shows and whatnot, but it's something I think is important that not a lot of people cover. Unfortunately, I wish there was more interest in it, because people don't actively search it, which is just the annoying thing.
And like, that's kind of why I became a student of film, is because there's so much history within film, and we would not be where we are today if we didn't have that. And it's kind of sad that people don't recognize that.
Yeah, no, for sure. I completely agree. That's why like content of that is so it's needed. It really is. Jackson Miller saying, I love what you guys do for YouTube. Keep it up. Thanks, man. Really appreciate it. Always appreciate the kind words. 402-1971 saying, I read the Dune books. They are awesome. You guys are missing out. Listen, I've heard only good things. I just don't know if I can bring myself to sort of tackle it. It's it's a beast, and it's like really niche. It's one of those things that's like, the more I hear about it, the more I'm like, how is this going to work as a movie for a mainstream audience, you know?
And it's also going to get a spin-off on HBO Max. I love like Batman. So, like,
yeah, that's true. That's true. Yeah, all those projects are getting spin-offs. Tenet's getting a spin-off on HBO Max. And then they follow up by saying, reading is a lost art. Would you guys agree with that?
Yeah. I think I noticed this a lot recently. Like, I'll be reading articles and they'll bullet point things just to make it easier to get through the article. Because people aren't going to read a 2-3 page article to get the information. They're going to read the headline and that's it. So yeah, I think reading is kind of a lost art form, the same way writing is lost. Because nobody handwrites anymore. Like, I don't remember how to cursive, and I learned that like 20 years ago.
Yeah, same. Yeah. No, that's a good point, Chris.
Yeah, I think it is. I mean, to your point with the bullet points and stuff like that. Yeah, when I read an article, I first read the headline and then whatever is in bold or bullet pointed, and then if I think I need more info, I'll go through the whole thing. But yeah. As far as that is, that's like I was saying, is just what Griffin was saying. Who has time to like just sit and put 100% of attention on what you're reading? There's so many other things that, you know, would probably need to be doing that. An audio book is just much easier. We're cleaning the house or doing a couple chores and just listening. It sucks, but that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
No, I agree. It's but then again, I don't know. Like people, like a lot of people read comics and graphic novels. That's sort of like replacing tradition. I mean, it has been for a while, but that's sort of replacing traditional novels, and people are more down to read that sort of content than they are regular books. I mean, probably because there's illustrations and whatnot. It's
I've actually been thinking about getting into graphic novels and comic books, especially after watching The Old Guard. I kind of want to get more into like
a lot of great stuff out there.
the like lore of that series, and the first issue is free on Comixology, so I downloaded that and still have yet to read it.
Yeah, like with you, like I'm going out of a town this week, and I'm gonna be on a plane, and I decided to buy the IDW publishing series. Has a great like TMNT line, so I finally decided to buy a book of that, and I'm going to be reading that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's usually what if I'm going to actually sit down and read something, it'll most likely be like graphic novels or comic books, but which is a shame. I wish I was into reading, but okay, Jack Alexander asking, do you think Caravan of Courage or Battle for Endor will release on Disney Plus? I correct me if I'm wrong, but is he referring to the Ewoks specials or like the animated specials or stuff like that? Because I'm blanking.
I think Battle for Endor might be an Ewok special or like an Ewok thing.
Yeah, well,
I think that you're right.
Yeah. I don't know. Will it release on Disney Plus? Maybe.
I don't think that they're going to release the Christmas special. They're not going to release those.
No, I don't think so either. I mean,
I think that's all lost media. They're claiming it as lost media.
Oh yeah, I agree with you. I can't if these are in fact like the animated Ewok specials, I can see that happening for sure.
Yeah.
Or like I think one of them was a droid special, which might be the Caravan of Courage, but yeah, I could see those getting released considering all the other, trash they have on Disney Plus. It might be worth just like throwing those on there. Not saying that those are trash, but you know what I'm saying.
No, yeah.
But yeah, no, I could see it happening eventually. But
someone said live action Ewok movies.
Oh, they're the live action ones. I don't know. If it was animated, I'd say probably, but
yeah.
Jackson Miller, anyone excited for Matrix or John Wick 4? Absolutely.
Oh yeah.
If you had to pick one or the other,
John Wick 4.
Yeah, John Wick 4. I don't care about the Matrix 4.
Yeah.
the Matrix burnt me with Matrix Reloaded.
Yeah.
It's just awful sequels. So I don't know. I mean, maybe 4 will be better, but John Wick has got the momentum right now, so that's all I'm interested in.
I mean, gotta see Keanu kicking ass even harder.
Yeah, gotcha. Zach Marsh with the super chat. Thank you so much, man. If the Star Wars holiday special isn't released on Disney Plus, then we need to boycott Disney. Listen, you could probably watch the holiday special on YouTube. It's
probably on YouTube somewhere. It's gotta be.
Yeah.
If not in parts, it's gotta be on there in a whole.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. For sure. All right. Going to take a couple more questions here, guys, and then we will close out. So send them in. I want to get your good questions in here. Kieran Grudging is asking, which film would you like to see Tarantino explore for his 10th and final movie?
Kill Bill Volume 3.
Oh, really? For the final one?
No. That's what everyone says, though. They're like, make Kill Bill Volume 3. And someone's like, and I think Vivica A. Fox was like, Zendaya should play Vernita's daughter. I'm like, I would be interested to see that, but I think Kill Bill ended fine.
Yeah, I don't think
no.
Kill Bill. There was the other one, which was like the Vega Brothers, which is the spinoff of Pulp Fiction. I don't want to see that either.
Yeah.
Like anything or go ahead.
No, I'll let you finish your thought because I was gonna.
Well, I was going to say anything that's based off of something that Tarantino has previously done. I don't want to see that. Something completely new and original. That's what I want.
Yeah. Every time I see a Tarantino movie, I love how he doesn't hold back on the gore and the blood, especially at the end of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, how crazy that was. So I would like to see him do another horror movie, just to end it off that way.
Mm-hmm. Which, I mean, I'm not the biggest Tarantino fan.
Sure. I mean,
the only films of his that I've liked are the Kill Bills and Once Upon a Time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, listen, I love Tarantino when he's doing westerns, but I mean, he's already done 2 westerns, so maybe jumping away from that and doing something completely different. Like you said, like a horror movie could be interesting. Sci-fi could be really interesting. I know when he was,
talking about Star Trek.
rumored to, doing the Star Trek thing, I was like,
I was very interested in that.
Yeah, like even if he doesn't direct it, if he just writes it, like that to me is like, oh, okay, we're going places. That's cool. I'd be down to see that. Okay. John Rousseau asking, do you guys have a favorite Steve Martin movie?
The Jerk. The Jerk is really great.
Yeah.
I can't think of any off the top of my head.
Hold them up.
Like Cheaper by the Dozen, but it's not a great Steve Martin movie.
Yeah, it's not a good one. God, I mean, Father of the Bride is great. Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, obviously,
that's
iconic.
a great one too. Like, I mean, you can't go wrong with a John Hughes movie.
Yeah. I mean, the Three Amigos. I mean, come on, Three Amigos is so good.
Anything with him and Martin Short, pretty much,
is usually great.
Gold.
Yeah, let me look some up because I don't want to blank on any because he's.
I know he and Martin Short have some specials coming out on Netflix.
I'm
excited for those.
Ooh, give me that. Yeah.
Other than the ones I saw like as a kid that I thought were okay, like a Pink Panther, Cheaper by the Dozen, and stuff like that. I guess I'd go with Bowfinger.
I was about to say Bowfinger is a good one, and actually, Amy, you are right. I think The Jerk probably is one of the best ones that he's done.
What was that one where he was like, I don't know if he was special needs or something, but I know in the movie he invents glasses and then it gets people to crash cars. Am I making sense on that movie?
I don't even know.
I don't know.
I don't know what you're talking about.
No, okay, I need to look that up. I remember that was a movie.
That's not Roxanne. I've never seen it. I've seen like the poster for it, the theatrical poster for it.
Yeah,
I don't think that's Roxanne.
It was a movie where he invented these glasses. He got rich, but then something happened where by putting them on your eyes they get you cross-eyed, and then someone fell off a bridge. He got sued. I remember that one being funny, but that's all
I think that's The Jerk.
Oh, is that The Jerk?
That's how he gets rich in The Jerk.
Okay, then that's what.
Because I'm like, why does it sound so vaguely familiar?
I saw it so young. I don't even. Yeah, I got to go back to that one then. Okay.
Yeah, I think probably Planes, Trains, and Automobiles or Dirty Rotten Scoundrels. That's a good one too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I keep going back to Three Amigos too, but those are good. I'm Steve Martin. I miss Steve Martin. He's so good. All right, like I said, couple more here. Let's see. Okay. Zach Mars saying, "What is the greatest dramatic television series ever made?" Amy.
Breaking Bad.
Breaking Bad. Yeah.
Come on.
Oh, come on.
I don't like. I couldn't finish it. I just gave up.
Breaking Bad.
Oh, come on, man.
I
love that film. That film. I love that series from start to finish. Like
I do too.
Lost. I like Lost.
Is great,
but for the first 3 to 4 seasons, and then it kind of tapers off for me at the last 2 seasons.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't consider it the greatest dramatic television series.
Yeah. I mean, even Better Call Saul is pretty good.
That's what I've heard. Yeah.
I only watched the first. So I don't know if I even finished the first season.
It gets better and better as it goes along, especially because it's getting closer and closer to Breaking Bad. But it's starting to get just as good as it.
Yeah. I don't know. That's really tough because I think the first season of Heroes is literally a masterpiece. That's one of the best just singular seasons of television I've ever watched. And if the show ended there, I would have been okay. Even though I liked season 2 and 3, it obviously dipped in quality, but I loved that first season so much. Zachary Quinto. Oh my God.
So good. We talked about this last time I was on. You don't see him for the first 4 episodes, and it's a totally different voice actor playing Styler's voice until you see him. And it's just, it's so good.
It's so good. Yeah, but I love Lost. I know some people aren't too high on the ending or how convoluted it got it, which I get, but I think Lost is one of the best.
I still really love Lost. I'm in the middle of rewatching that too, and I love it so much. I love the way they build characters. And it's a great story.
Yeah, no, I mean, I agree. It's excellent. I mean, The Leftovers is really.
Riverdale.
If we're talking dramatic, through and through dramatic television, I think it's really kind of hard to beat The Leftovers. Those 3 seasons are incredible.
Watchmen. Watchmen is the greatest dramatic television series ever made. I will watch up your Leftovers with another Damon Lindelof.
Yeah, I mean, when Damon Lindelof tackles television, just magic sort of happens.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are all great choices. Okay. Kilmoran, thoughts on the Quarantine movie from Zendaya, John David Washington, and Sam Levinson. Amy?
I'm interested to see it a little bit, because I think I read it as like kind of a play on Marriage Story a little bit, in a way.
Yeah,
I'm interested to see.
It was part of the description. I don't know how much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess if it's being pitched as like sort of like a marriage story kind of thing, like that's interesting. I don't want the same thing as Marriage Story, obviously, but but Sam Levinson did Euphoria, right? That first season of Euphoria. Mm-hmm. So I mean, that interests me. That's enough to get me excited for sure. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. I like the fact they filmed it all during quarantine is interesting, but
plus like John David Washington is great. Like he's on
so
par
good
with his dad on acting.
Yeah.
So I'm interested to see what his chemistry is with Zendaya as well.
Yeah. That's the big thing. All right, a couple more here. Going back to the TV questions, some people were saying Mad Men in the chat, which I do agree. Mad Men that's up there. It's up there.
That's another show I have yet to sink my teeth into because it's so long.
It's so good. It is so good.
I watched the first episode a long time ago when it was like first on Netflix, and I just never got around to finishing it.
Yeah. I mean, it's worth finishing for sure. I mean, the performances are so good. The characters are so well written. And you think it's going to be one thing, and then kind of like takes off and becomes something else, and then like the era is great. But
isn't John Hamm attached to that Fletch reboot? Is that a good series, or is that one movie or whatever? I never saw that movie.
I didn't either, so I can't comment.
Oh, okay.
Who knows? All right, guys, we're gonna end on this one. Favorite sitcoms. Let's hear them.
Boy Meets World.
I liked How I Met Your Mother a lot.
I did too.
Does that count as a sitcom or no?
I think so. If it's on a laugh track, it's a sitcom.
It's a sitcom. Yeah.
You made a face, Griff. You don't like How I Met Your Mother?
I like How I Met Your Mother. I think it is a very competent ripoff of Friends. I think it tries too hard to be Friends. Which leads me to what some of my favorite sitcoms are, which would be Friends is being my favorite. And then no one talks about King of Queens. King of Queens is so good. Kevin James is hilarious in that series. It's so good.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess it.
And I mean, you got Jerry Stiller in it too. So.
Yeah. And Leah Remini.
Yeah.
She's so good. She's so good at that.
I remember it used to come on after Friends. In syndication, and we would sometimes watch like an episode if dinner wasn't ready.
Yeah. I remember like do something like that too. I'm trying to think of what else. I mean, are either of you big Seinfeld fans?
I mean, I will watch it if it's on, but I haven't like sat down and actually watched every single episode. I've only seen like cherry picked episodes of whatever's on TV.
Yeah, same. I thought it was fine, but it never like hit me the same way that it hit other people, which I guess it's like, whether it's sort of like your brand of comedy or not. Zach Marsh actually brought up the next one that I was going to mention, which was Frasier. I think Frasier is that is such a genius show that is so well written. It's very like highbrow, but it's like also really clever. And Kelsey Grammer is amazing in that. Any final sitcoms before we close out?
I Love Lucy.
Got to go with I Love Lucy. It's a good one. It's a good one.
By the end of the year, we'll be saying WandaVision.
Oh, well, that's interesting. Is that going to be a sitcom? Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, I feel like they're going to be pulling from a bunch of different like genres within it. So there's going to be like from that teaser that they showed earlier this year.
Yeah. There's
going to be like an I Love Lucy-esque episode. There's going to be like kind of a horror-esque episode. Yeah.
Full House.
They're going to be pulling from a bunch of different stuff, which it's going to be very interesting, and I'm super excited for.
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. But that is going to do it, guys, for this episode of Film Forum. Thank you both for joining me. Thanks to my amazing guests here. Chris, where can everyone find you?
You guys can find me at youtube.com/3cfilms or on Twitter at 3cfilmreview. Thank you for having me on, Griffin.
Yeah, of course, man. And then Amy, thank you for joining me again. It's great to have you on.
Of course.
Where can everyone find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at NotAmyK, or on YouTube at I almost pimped out my podcast there at the Movie Checklist. Or you can listen to my podcast everywhere you listen to podcasts, The Nostalgia Effect.
Yeah,
where we talk about movies from our childhood through the lens of adulthood, and it's very fun.
Yeah, it's a great podcast. You guys seriously are missing out if you aren't checking out her podcast, and if you want deeper dives into like older,
we
content.
Just covered Splash. It was very fun, and we talk about butts
the
lot.
the CGI butt removal that was interesting.
Big old discussion.
Well, you know what's interesting is that they removed that butt, but they didn't remove Hugh Jackman's butt in Days of Future
Past. We
Past.
talk about that in the episode.
What's going on here, Disney? A little bit of sexism. No, but thank you both for joining me as always. Guys, listen, give them a follow on your social media platforms of choice and whatnot. And then also, if you haven't done so already, be sure to like this video, share it with your friends, and subscribe to the FilmSpeak channel, where we say the conversation continues after the credits. This is obviously an extension of that conversation. And if you want to have a hand in the creation of this show and you want to submit topics for us to talk about on FilmForum, be sure to head on over to the Patreon, and I believe the $5 tier is where you can submit topics for us to discuss if you feel like supporting the channel in that way. You can also like FilmSpeak on Facebook, follow us on Twitter simply by searching FilmSpeak. And lastly, guys, you can give me a follow on Twitter at Griff Schiller. All right, we will be back on Saturday for a live Q&A. The live Q&As are coming back, guys, so get ready for it. Thank you all for joining me on this episode, and until then, take care.